Story time! One of my rudest clients. So you all know when I was taking clients, I was a home-based nail tech, meaning I was working from my house. And to be more specific, during this time, I was working on my porch. When I first started receiving clients, I was charging about $15 to $20 per set. And I also didn't have all the materials I have today because I couldn't afford it. When it came to nail products, I always had high-end products and products I know that wouldn't harm my clients' nails. When it came to lotion or cuticle oil, I would usually make it at home or buy it at the dollar store. Now this one client, I was doing her nails, everything was going great. But as soon as I pull out the lotion and the cuticle oil, my client was like, "Oh my god, is that from the dollar store?" And I'm like, "Yes girl, it is. It smells good and it works fine." And then she started recording me trying to expose me, saying that I'm cheap. And it made me feel some type of way, so I clipped her nails off and never received her again.
If me and my sister ever put our elbows on the dinner table, my mom would take a fork and stab us in the arm. On Thanksgiving, I put my elbow on the table and she stabbed me with the fork, and she told me I wasn't allowed to have Thanksgiving dinner that night and I had to go to my room. My mom got food poisoning from the turkey because she accidentally baked it with the plastic in it. But guess who didn't get food poisoning because they didn't eat the turkey?
So did you guys know that our typical search engines are only 4% of what we see on the web, which is like Google, Bing, Firefox? I'm going to be talking about some of the most popular websites on the dark web, so get ready because this is going to be intense. So here's a photo example just to give you guys an idea of what this looks like. At the top is the area that we do our research for school on, or stalk our exes, I don't know. And then 500 times larger than the surface web is the deep web. The deep web is filled with information that we cannot access, such as medical documents, iCloud, personal information. Like I obviously can't Google what your family history or intake forms say, so that's where this is stored. And then the dark web holds the last 6%. This part of the internet was created by the US Navy in the 1990s, and it was made so spies could share info without being tracked. Well, then the government decided to release it to the public. And you need the specific software to go to it called Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. It hides your identity and gives you access to non-surface web pages. And on this section of the internet, you can do things like buy people's credit card information, get counterfeit money, hire hackers and hitmen, and way worse. Okay, so this is part 2 to my series on the dark web. So all of these websites are listed in very long, hard to remember codes that change very frequently to avoid law enforcement. And instead of using .com, .org, .net, you use .onion. Well, one of the biggest websites on here is called Silk Road. This website is responsible for 1.1 billion in transactions in 1 year. You can buy things like counterfeit money on here, also Facebook accounts to hack into, fake passports, stolen credit cards, and I may or may not know a few people who have gotten their fake IDs from there. Honestly, not uncommon. Now, there's also hitman websites on here as well. For example, you have something called Assassination Market. And y'all, this is insane. On this website, a victim will be added to a list of targets. Users will bid Bitcoin on when they think this target is going to die. The most accurate bidder gets the whole pot of Bitcoin. The problem is that many of these users start to just participate themselves so that they can win. Like they become the hitman, which is way cheaper than just hiring an actual hitman. But there are theories on who's actually responsible in controlling all of this. Welcome back to my series on the dark web. The big theory surrounding the hitman websites is that the government may still be in control of the dark web and be very aware of who is where, even though it appears that they're not. Because it was literally created by the government, how would you be safe from the government? And in actuality, the theory is that they may just be letting people do the dirty work for them. Like they're the ones who might actually be putting hits on people. But we will probably never know. The dark web goes so much deeper than this because of websites like Human Products, which sells food, belts, wallets, and clothing made from, you guessed it, humans. But this is literally the kind of things that they sell. Of course, there's even darker stuff like human experimentation, but I'm actually going to go into detail on that on my Instagram, because I know if I post it here, TikTok will take it down. So go over there, go to my middle tab where my reels are, and you guys can see the most intense part of the series, but there's a fat trigger warning on those videos, just FYI. But you will get to see me take off this makeup look.
What would you do if this happened to you? Once a young woman named Claudia was about to walk home when it started raining heavily. Not wanting to be rained on, she decided she should get a taxi instead. As she walked down the empty streets past the cemetery, a taxi approached her. She got in and quickly realized something was wrong. She began feeling unusually cold and noticed the windows were covered in ice. Then things got even weirder. Claudia realized that they were going the wrong way. She blurted out to the driver, "We're going the wrong way," but got no response. She raised her hand to tap him on the shoulder and the driver looked back. Claudia let out a scream. She couldn't believe what she saw. The driver's face was withered and pale, his skin clinging tightly to his bones. Claudia began to panic. She tried to open the door and jump out, but nothing worked. She even banged on the windows to try to get passersby's attention, but nobody heard her. Then, in a fit of desperation, Claudia began to scratch at the driver to make him stop driving. His withered face came off into her hand, revealing a gleaming white skull beneath. Claudia and that taxi was never seen again.
Okay, so who in the world would kill this beautiful Instagram influencer? Alexis Sharkey's death was just ruled as a homicide, and it has been on my brain all week. I'll be showing you guys how to do this look, so let's get into the case. So Alexis was extremely smart, very much an overachiever. She graduated top of her class at the University of Pittsburgh and had big dreams of going to med school. However, she wanted to travel in the meantime, so she decided to take a break. So she went to Texas to work at a Twin Peaks. She had no issues making friends, but recently went through a breakup. But one of the girls she worked with at Twin Peaks noticed a thing going on between her and a regular. This guy's name was Tom Sharkey. He was an oil field consultant and traveled a lot for his job, which was perfect because that's why she was taking a break from college. They began dating and she started to work for the hair company Monet, which a lot of you guys know to be a pyramid scheme. However, Miss Girl was so good at it. She was making $400,000 a year as an executive director and traveling and posting it everywhere. Because of this, her Instagram rose to 20,000 followers. She met a lot of new friends and eventually Tom proposed. Go to part 2 to see the rest of the look. Welcome back to the case of Alexis Sharkey. We're doing this makeup look, by the way. So Tom proposed to her and they moved to Colorado, and this is when she took up vlogging on YouTube. And they look absolutely precious. They seem like such a good couple. They seem like they're genuinely so happy in every single vlog, but the problem is you never really know what's truly going on based on social media. So her and Tom seem like the perfect couple. They get married, move to Houston together, and she joins Bumble BFF to make a new group of friends. She ends up finding a group that she meshes with really well and combining them with her Monet friends. Well, quarantine hits and she takes to TikTok. New way to promote yourself. Pretty much all of us went on TikTok after quarantine. So she was finally able to show more of her personality online, promote Monet, and she put Tom and her friends in it. You can still go look these up. And then her and one of her friends decided to go to Marfa, Texas, and then Tulum, Mexico. Keep this in mind. This is actually the last photo that she posted on her Instagram in Tulum. Anyways, by the time she got back, it was Thanksgiving, and she went to her friend Tanya's house for it. Without Tom, which is so strange for newlyweds. I forgot to mention that her friends would say that she would barely even bring up Tom, which is so sus, but go to part 3 for the events that unfold. Welcome back to part 3 of the case of Alexis Sharkey. We are doing this makeup look, and this is the part where everything happens. So she leaves her friend Tanya's house on Thanksgiving and lets Tanya know that she's going out to drink. She was picked up by a car, went out drinking until 3 a.m., and then texted Tanya on her way back to let her know she was coming back to pick up her car from her house. Well, the next day is Black Friday, which is a huge deal for people who run businesses, and she's obviously affiliated with Monet. And because she works from her phone, she's never off of it, like a story every other hour. All her friends wake up Black Friday, nothing. Nothing is on her social media. But that morning in the friend group chat, they get a text from her. She wanted to hang out and go out drinking, but none of them were free then, so they made plans for the next day. Well, the next day comes around, she doesn't show up, and no one's heard from her. So her husband Tom phones up John, one of her friend's boyfriends, and is like, hey, have you heard from Alexis? We got into a really bad fight last night, and I haven't seen her. She got into a black car, and I haven't seen her since. Sorry guys, here's the rhinestones. But his story kept changing. He would sometimes say she left in a black car, sometimes say she left on foot, would sometimes say that they had fought, would sometimes say that they didn't have a fight. She had her phone, didn't have her phone, or that he was even following her around on Find Friends.